Military Newspapers of Virginia. We're your source for Air Force news and information. Now taking off just to your left and climbing out is Sean Carroll. Sean is a civilian pilot who has kids in the military who are going into pilot training. He is a very big supporter of the men and women of our country who are diving in now at over 300 miles per hour. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Sean Carroll flying this Yak 9, one of nearly 35,000 of different Yaks. Whoa, yeah, Bill, what a great fast that is. Cameras ready, going right by the F-15 Eagle. We would encourage you today, if you don't have hearing protection, you can buy hearing protection from a lot of the different vendors who are here. We'd encourage you to get some hearing protection. This is one loud airplane from the front. It's also one loud airplane from the rear. There we got him to do it. Little salute there. That's the speed break. Do a little Hampton Road salute. And Sean Carroll comes by once again in Allison Powers Yak 9 with one of the most beautiful paint jobs ever. Got another salute. Captain Lou Diablo Guarini in aircraft number 1, Lieutenant Colonel Matt Porch Esper in aircraft number 2. Coming up to show center right now, Lieutenant Colonel Jim Meeker in aircraft number 3. I'm going to give him the sign, see if we can get him to raise that speed brake for us here. There we go. Everybody in the crowd doing it too? Okay, you know how to do it? Do that to get him to put the speed brake up, all right? You guys do it. I'm not going to do it. Let's see if you'll do it. Maybe you'll see me do it. There you go. He did it for you. That worked. And that's Lieutenant Aaron Scuba, call sign Scuba Oliver. All these guys have call signs. Who knows how they get their call signs? More often than not, getting a call sign is not something of great pride. It comes from a mistake. I got the call sign Rose a few years ago. Sean Carroll going by, I don't know what his call sign is. I got the call sign Ropes because I was jumping in an airplane in a hurry to take off, and I started the engine, and I started to pull away from the parking place, and the airplane would not move because the tail tie down was still attached. So they call me Ropes. Now, over the top, let's take a look. Here comes Sean Carroll now. Let me tell you a little bit about the purpose of this particular airplane and all the early Yak series aircraft. They were designed to stop the Luftwaffe. The Luftwaffe was the Air Force of the Germans in World War II. As Sean passes over, inverted, hanging from the straps, and slowly moves that stick to the left to roll out. The Luftwaffe protected German soil from airborne attack throughout World War II. Particularly from 1943 on, American bombers were attacking targets in Germany. And the Luftwaffe's main fighters, the ME-109 or the Messerschmitt Bf-109 and the Focke-Wulf FW-190 were sent to knock down those bombers to keep them from delivering their targets, their bombs on target. Well, on the Eastern Front, with Russia being on the side of the Allies, there were many, many yaks out there to try to knock down the Luftwaffe. The Luftwaffe reported over 94,000 aircraft missing in action during World War II. More than 62,000 of these were on the Eastern Front, and most of those losses were attributed to yak fighters. Now, our business, the air show business, really is kind of dominated by male pilots. But let me tell you a little bit about the yak fighters and the Russian pilots during World War II. There were 12 Russian women pilots who became aces flying yak fighters. An ace is an aviator who has scored 5 aerial victories. And there were 12 Russian women pilots who became aces. Of the Yak series, the Yak 1, the Yak 3, and the Yak 9, production totaled about 35,000 airplanes, and a majority of them were Yak 9s, as we're seeing here today. They were flown by several Allied air forces, the French, the Polish, as well as the British. Now, coming in from the right. Now, watch him. He'll bank it to... No, he'll pull right back up to 45. Now, watch him go over. A beautiful, beautiful roll over the top. Production for the Yak 9 ended in 1953. Even in the Korean War, many early U.S. kills in the air war during the Korean War from 1950 to 1953 were against Yak 9s. But even with production ending in 1953, there weren't very many Yak 9s around. But in the 1990s, it was discovered that the original Yakolev Design Bureau factory contained sufficient original parts to build 7 airplanes. In other words, they were parts that were made prior to 1953. They were never used, and there was enough of a parts store that they could actually build 7 airplanes. And the one that Sean Carroll is flying today was the number 4 of those 7. It is a new production aircraft with original parts. It is a very, very rare bird indeed. Consider that most of the 35,000 Yaks that were built during World War II were the Yak 9s, and we've got the chance to see one of them right here today with Sean Carroll flying through with an Allison-powered Yak. Now, the original Yak 9s were powered by a V12 Klimov Russian piston engine, a V12 liquid-cooled. But this one is the Allison V12 engine, the same kind of engine that was used in the United States Army Air Force P-38 Lightning and the P-40 Warhawk and the early P-51 Mustangs that were originally built for the Royal Air Force for the British back in 1940. The horsepower on this, over 1,600 horsepower. It's an Allison V1710. Most aircraft engines are cooled by air. But this one is a liquid-cooled engine. Oh boy, Sean is having a time of his life today. He is just absolutely loving putting this airplane through its paces. Now, the paint job that you see on it, you'll see some sun glinting off it at times, and that's just that great new modern paint that's on it. The original ones did not have that fancy paint job. It was painted in camouflage colors, but it wasn't fancy like this. Now watch him as he pulls up, does a slow roll into the inverted. Let's see if we go all the way through. Yep, beautiful coordination. There's a lot of power, over 300 miles per hour is what he's doing here. It's armed with a 23mm cannon. It has 2 machine guns firing 12.7mm shells. It could carry 8 rockets and 2 bombs. Now, if you've seen bombs on an airplane, they usually come out of a bomb bay and they are long and they have fins on the back and they drop out of a bomb bay horizontally and then they start aiming vertically toward the ground. Well, in this airplane, the two bombs that it could carry were actually carried vertically right behind the pilot and were deployed straight down. I don't know what the reason for that was. Maybe they thought they could be more accurate that way. Fact of the matter is, they were able to get those two bombs in there and the 12.7mm machine gun and that 23mm cannon all in that Yak-9. This airplane in 2002 placed third in the unlimited bronze class. It is one fast airplane, and it's the first Allison-powered Yak fighter to ever finish a race at the Reno National Air Races that take place out at the Reno, Nevada area in September of each year. Sean Carroll diving down, keeping his eyes on the runway, banking it hard. Now, it looks like he's going to extend back behind the crowd a little bit. This might be a great time to get your cameras ready, because I'm guessing he's going to do what we call a photo pass, where he's going to stand it up on one wing, bank sharply to the right, so you can look right down into the cockpit. Here he comes. Oh boy, now he'll level it off in a second. Nope, he's going to bring it straight up. There is such power. The airplane is about 3/4 the size of a P-51 Mustang, with only 28 feet in length and a wingspan of 31 feet. It weighs about 6,800 pounds at takeoff. With air-to-air mission, ground mission, light bomber mission, it also had a bomber escort mission. This was one of the little friends. It even escorted American B-17 bombers on some of their bombing raids. The bombers were known by the fighters, the single-seat fighters, as the big friends. The bomber crews saw these little single-seat fighters as the little friends. And together, they fought off the Luftwaffe on both fronts of the war so that those bombers could get their armament, their bombs delivered on target to stop the Nazi war machine. He's about ready to bring it into land. We've got more to come. We will be taking a short break. Now let's watch Sean as he look at the wide landing gear on this airplane. Very similar, if you will, to a P-51 Mustang, but notice he lands it fairly fast. This is a very, very fast wing on this airplane, and that wide landing gear makes it a little easier to land. That's called a wheel landing, where the two main gear wheels touch down first, and then, as he bleeds off airspeed, he'll then relax and allow the back pressure, the pressure on the stick to release, and that tail wheel will slowly come down and bring it to a stop. He'll be coming by in just a couple of seconds.